going into, the game, both teams undefeated, couldn't ask for a better matchup. What can we anticipate from this Michigan team missing their head coach?
It's a trap game last week, right? So I never really look into it. I mean, Ohio State didn't look all that grand last week as well against Minnesota. So anytime you have a game like this in the horizon and you can smell it, that that game you're currently focused on is it's that's why they call it a trap game. So that's why both those teams didn't look super great. But you're going to get their very best come Saturday because this is quite honestly, it's the best rivalry in football. Might be the best rivalry in sports. I mean, you can look back so much history between these two teams. A lot of hatred. I mean, these coaches will not respect each other. There isn't. I mean,
No.
sportsmanship goes out the window. I mean, it's just a
These
whole
teams
different. It's a different level.
they truly loathe each other.
It's a
And
different
it is
level.
it is a 70, 80 year history of them absolutely having legitimate beef with one another. And
And I
so,
think you're looking at John. Correct me if I'm wrong. Of the last 5 years, I think this is the fourth time where the winner of this game is like almost guaranteed to go to the playoff. Like it's
yeah.
basically a playoff game before the playoffs start. I think 4 of the last 5 years, the winner of it has gone to a playoff, or both teams ended up going to the playoff.
Yeah, the
So
stakes have been no joke every time.
I mean, you know what it is. It's in the big house. So Ohio State's got to come to Ann Arbor. It's going to be a tough place to play. I think Michigan's going to roll, and I'm not a Michigan fan. John is a Michigan fan. I'm from Michigan. I'm completely unbiased. I don't like Ohio State. I don't root for Michigan or Ohio State, to be honest with you. But I think Michigan's going to roll here. I think JJ McCarthy has had a couple slow weeks, but he's a far superior quarterback, and I think is much more ready for this moment than Ohio State's McCord. And I just think the moment's going to be too big for Ohio. I mean, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to try to feed him, but if anyone in the country has the DBs to compete with him even a little bit, and I'm not saying anyone's going to lock him down, but you can limit him and not let him have a freak game. That's the only way Ohio wins this game is if he goes off. So you
Yeah.
have Mike Still, you have Will Johnson. Those are two guys, two of the best in the country that can compete with him. And all you got to do is get a few stops. I don't see Ohio stopping Michigan's run game. JJ's going to make enough plays. They're going to get a very, very heavy box. And if Michigan takes a couple risks and JJ makes them pay like they did in the game last year in Ohio, you could look at a pretty lopsided game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, what was previously a weakness for Michigan, in my perspective, was their defensive backs, and now I'd argue that's a strength based off of how they played this season. So you're right. I mean, Ohio State's always had disgusting receivers. You could argue between them and Alabama, it's the best receiving university in the country. But I think we actually have the talent to kind of go toe to toe there, and the quarterback plays is, I mean, I don't think McCord's necessarily bad, but it's not the same that it's been probably in years prior. Zach, how are you feeling about the game?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot at stake for Michigan as a whole. I mean, Harbaugh has been suspended. They look like Mark said, it was a little bit of a trap game against Maryland, and JJ looked a little bit shaky. But they held their own well. They've been winning, and their defense really stood out to me watching them play against Penn State a couple weeks back, and then the way they just manipulated and controlled the game in that second half on the ground, I think will be a good thing, especially if JJ comes out a little bit sloppy or sluggish, or if they get punched in the mouth early on. I think honestly too, this game might have bigger stakes going into it than even like the Big Ten championship. Like there's guaranteed playoff spots on the line here. You've got game day coming into town, which always brings a little bit of extra oomph behind the show going on for the game. And this is a game, even whether or not your allegiance lies to the maize and blue or to Sparty up north a little bit. This is a game you want to be at if you're a Michigan resident. Even this is something that everybody got their eyes on all around the college football landscape, and there's a lot on the line here for both teams.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a national game. I mean, I think you're
Mm-hmm.
right in saying that, even if you're not a Michigan fan, if you're a Michigan resident, you're paying attention to what's going on in this game. I mean, seriously, the whole country is like, this really is the biggest game in college football. And it has been for, a few years now.
You
So,
don't get the nickname the game for
Literally.
by accident. you know.
And like you've got
exactly.
guys that are guaranteed, not just going to the league in the future, but high draft picks going forward on both sides of both teams, both sides of the ball as well. There's a lot of dogs, if you will. Um, which will only up the intensity and up the caliber of play that you're going to see on Saturday. And I've seen they cut those promos, the big noon Saturday promos for this game in particular. Man, you don't want to be anywhere else on Saturday
You get
besides in front
chills,
of a
man.
TV.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
I
You get
mean,
chills.
both you guys are relatively local to Ann Arbor. Do either of you plan on meandering your way down and maybe catching some game day or anything like that?
Oh, I
No.
wish, man. I wish.
Hey
No,
man.
I'm gonna watch on the comfort of my couch. I plan on making some TikToks about it before, and have some short form stuff coming out along with this episode. But I'm excited as hell to see it. Huge stakes, obviously for both teams. So winner can pretty much guarantee they're in because they have a joke of a team in the Big Ten title game, Iowa, which is gonna be an absolute cakewalk.